You're tired, but not the kind of tired that sleep can fix. It's a deeper fatigue, the kind that sinks into your bones and makes even the smallest decisions feel heavy. And the worst part? You don't even know exactly what's draining you. You've done everything right. You've been kind. You've been considerate. You've bent over backwards to make people feel comfortable, seen, understood. You've tried to be the version of yourself that everyone else would like. But something still feels off. Maybe it's this. Every time you put someone else first, you disappear a little more. Every time you smile when you want to scream, say yes when everything in you screams no. You're not just being polite. You're abandoning yourself, slowly, quietly, consistently. You've been taught that being liked is the highest good, that approval is safety, that if you just keep everyone happy, things will eventually work out. But what if that's the lie? What if the very thing you thought would bring you peace is the exact thing keeping you in pieces? What if trying to please everyone is what's been breaking you? Søren Kierkegaard once wrote, "The most common form of despair is not being who you are." And maybe that's the feeling you haven't been able to name until now. Not sadness, not anger, despair. Most people will never see it, but you've felt it. That invisible pressure to be agreeable, likable, non-threatening, to never rock the boat, to be the peacekeeper, the helper, the one who's always there when needed, and never a burden when you're the one in need. It sounds noble, but underneath it's a cage. You weren't born with this need to please, it was taught, conditioned, rewarded. Somewhere along the way you learned that love is earned, that affection comes when you're useful, agreeable, accommodating, that your worth depends on how small you can make yourself for others to feel comfortable. But that's not love. That's control dressed in praise. Kierkegaard saw this as despair, a spiritual sickness, not being yourself, living outside of your own center, existing as a reflection of what others want you to be. You smile, you show up, you say the right thing, but inside, a storm brews. You're screaming behind the mask, wondering if anyone sees the real you, or if you've buried him so deep that even you forgot what he looks like. Trying to please everyone doesn't bring peace. It brings exhaustion. It fragments your identity. You start to forget what you want, what you believe, what you stand for. And slowly your life stops feeling like yours. They told you that being good would bring love, that if you were always kind, always agreeable, always giving, you'd be valued. But the truth is brutal. People don't respect those who constantly try to earn their approval. They use them. And deep down, you know this. Every time you bite your tongue when you should speak. Every time you say yes while swallowing your resentment. Every time you shrink so others can expand, a part of you fades. The truth is simple. You can't be free and be a people pleaser at the same time. One always has to die. And if you've made it this far, maybe you're finally ready to choose which one it's going to be. There's a kind of anger that doesn't explode. It simmers, quiet, controlled, but always there. The kind of anger that builds when you spend your life doing what's right and still get overlooked, taken for granted, or worse, disrespected. It's not just frustration, it's betrayal. You did everything they said you should, you were generous, patient, understanding. And yet somehow the ones who lied, who manipulated, who played dirty, those are the ones who seem to win. But that fury you feel, that tension in your chest you can't quite explain, it's not weakness, it's truth. It's your soul screaming for you to stop betraying yourself. Kierkegaard didn't write about rage the way modern psychology does. But he understood despair. He knew that when you live a life built on pleasing others, there's a part of you that begins to rot from the inside. Not because you're bad, but because you're split. You're living in contradiction, appearing one way, feeling another. Here's the hardest truth of all. Being nice isn't always kind. Sometimes it's cowardice. Sometimes it's fear wearing a smile. And the people around you, they sense it. They don't love you for your sacrifices. They grow to expect them, to demand them. And then, when you finally reach your limit, they call you the selfish one. But you were never selfish. You were just exhausted. You don't need more kindness. You need honesty, boundaries, fire. The courage to say, enough. Not with cruelty, but with clarity. Because there's no peace in pretending, and no redemption in resentment. The most dangerous anger is the one that never speaks. Let it speak. It happens so gradually you barely notice. One small compromise, one polite lie, one more sure no problem when your whole body says no. Over time, a gap opens between who you are and who you pretend to be, and that's the moment the mask goes on. Not the physical kind, the social one. The version of you crafted for approval, agreeable, harmless, easy to digest. You learn to say the right things, to laugh at the right moments, to hide the parts of you that might make people uncomfortable. At first it feels like survival, but then it becomes a habit, a role, a prison. Kierkegaard called this the sickness of the self, not knowing who you are because you're too busy being what others want. You begin to live outside your center, and the longer you wear the mask, the more distant your real self becomes. You're not lying. Not exactly. You've just forgotten. Forgotten what you believe, what you need, what you love, because you're too focused on what will keep the peace, what will earn approval, what won't scare anyone away. But here's the cost. If you're always playing a role, no one ever truly loves you. They love the character. And deep down, you know it. You know that the version of yourself they like isn't the full picture. That if they saw the whole truth, your doubts, your boundaries, your pain, they might walk away. And maybe that's the fear behind the mask, that your truth is unlovable. But maybe, just maybe, the real tragedy isn't that people might leave when they see the real you. It's that you've been abandoning yourself to make sure they never have to. So ask yourself, are you living your life or just performing it? There comes a moment, a quiet, terrifying moment, when you realize that continuing to live for others means dying to yourself. That every yes you give out of fear is another brick in a wall, separating you from your own soul. And in that moment, you face a choice. Kierkegaard called it the leap of faith. Not just in God, but in existence, in truth, in yourself. It's the moment when you stop asking, will they still love me if I say no? And start asking, what happens if I keep saying yes to everything that hurts me? The leap is terrifying because it's a kind of death. The death of the character you've been playing. The death of the illusion that you can keep everyone happy and still live with integrity. The death of the belief that you need permission to be whole. But beyond that death, there's life. There's freedom. There's peace. Not because everything becomes easier, but because you finally stop fighting against your own nature. You begin to live from the inside out, not the outside in. And for the first time in a long time, you can breathe. This leap doesn't require violence or rebellion. It requires honesty, stillness, the courage to say, this is who I am. This is what I value. This is where I end and where others begin. It's not about rejecting everyone. It's about no longer rejecting yourself. You won't please everyone. You were never meant to. And chasing their approval has cost you too much already. Your peace, your identity, your voice. So let them misunderstand you. Let them disapprove. Let the false connections fall away. Because what stays, what remains when you stop twisting yourself to be liked, is real. And isn't that what you were always looking for? Something real? You don't find it by becoming who they want. You find it by becoming who you are. No masks, no roles, no borrowed identities, just you. That's the leap, and no one can take it for you. The first time you say no and mean it, really mean it, isn't loud, it's quiet, still, but it echoes through every part of your life. It feels unnatural at first, like betrayal, like you're doing something wrong. Because for so long you were trained to believe that love is earned through sacrifice, that being good means never disappointing anyone. But here's what they didn't tell you. Every time you say yes to avoid guilt, you plant resentment. And eventually that grows into a life that no longer feels like your own. Saying no is a boundary, but more than that, it's a declaration. I exist. It doesn't have to come with anger. It doesn't have to come with justification. It just has to be true. No, I can't take that on right now. No, I don't agree with that. No, I won't keep pretending. Kierkegaard said, to dare is to lose one's footing momentarily. Not to dare is to lose oneself. Saying no might shake your world at first. It might upset people, it might make things messy, but it also clears the path. It separates what was real from what was conditional. It makes space for your voice, your needs, your presence. You don't owe anyone your silence. You don't owe them your compliance. You owe yourself your truth. And the moment you stop apologizing for it, that's when you begin to feel what real freedom actually tastes like. Freedom isn't free. That's not just a political slogan. It's a personal truth. There's a cost to choosing yourself. You might lose people. You might disappoint those who benefited from your silence, your compliance, your endless yes. You might feel more alone at first, because the noise of fake connection falls away. But that silence, it's sacred. It's where you meet yourself again. At first, the loss feels heavy, but what you're really shedding is the weight of pretending. And in its place, something stronger begins to rise. Clarity, integrity, peace. Kierkegaard believed that the greatest human task is not to become someone else's ideal, but to become oneself, fully, authentically, courageously. And that's the reward. When you stop chasing approval, you start attracting truth. The people who stay because of who you are, not who you perform to be. The work you do starts to feel aligned. Your voice carries weight because it's rooted in honesty. You stop asking, what do they think of me? And start asking, what do I think of this? That shift changes everything. The world begins to make more sense. Not because it gets easier, but because you get stronger. You stop swimming upstream in your own life. You start walking your path on your terms. The cost of that? Yes, some people may leave. But the reward? You finally stop leaving yourself. This isn't about becoming harder, colder, bitter. It's about becoming whole. The world doesn't need more people pleasers. It needs more truth tellers, more boundary setters, more souls willing to walk alone rather than live as someone else's shadow. Maybe for the first time, you're starting to see the truth. You don't need to be everything to everyone. You just need to be you, fully, unapologetically. So here's the challenge. Choose one place in your life, just one, where you've been shrinking, bending, pretending. And stop. Take the mask off. Say what you really feel. Risk being seen. Not for attention, not for validation, but because your soul is tired of being edited. You were not made to be everyone's favorite. You were made to be free. And when you finally stop trying to please everyone, that's when everything begins to fall into place.